1. The secret of emotional self-sufficiency. The secret is not a manipulation tactic, but a fundamental truth of human nature. True power lies in emotional self-sufficiency. Women often observe that men who are anchored in their own purpose and internal stability, rather than seeking validation from external sources, possess a magnetic, calm strength. The secret is that women are drawn to the man who does not need them to complete his identity, but rather chooses to share his life with them. 2. Stoicism as the foundation of masculine presence. Stoicism teaches the dichotomy of control, focusing energy only on what is within our power, our thoughts, actions, and character, and accepting what is not, the opinions and actions of others. A man who masters this philosophy projects a masculine mind that is unshakable. This presence provides a sense of security and clarity that is highly valued in any partnership, as it demonstrates that the man is the master of his own internal state. 3. The power of logos, rationality, over reactivity. The masculine mind, when aligned with Stoic principles, prioritizes logos, reasoned judgment, over impulsive emotional reactivity. The truth often hidden from men is that reacting to drama or seeking to fix every emotional fluctuation of others is a sign of weakness. By remaining composed and rational, a man becomes a pillar of stability, which fosters deeper trust and respect in his relationships. 4. Virtue as the ultimate attractor. Stoicism posits that virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance is the only true good. A man who lives by a strict moral code and pursues excellence in his craft or purpose naturally commands respect. This is the truth that is often overlooked. Women are not looking for a man who is merely nice or compliant, but for a man who possesses the strength of character to stand by his principles, regardless of the circumstances. 5. Reclaiming the masculine frame. The final point emphasizes that a man must define his own frame, his worldview, and boundaries, rather than letting his reality be dictated by others. By applying the Stoic practice of memento mori, remembering the brevity of life, and amor fati, loving one's fate, a man stops playing the victim of his circumstances. When a man takes full responsibility for his life, he stops hiding from his potential and begins to lead with the power of a disciplined, masculine mind. The most profound secret that is often hidden in plain sight, a truth that many women understand, intuitively, but rarely articulate to men, is the staggering power of emotional self-sufficiency. We often mistake the dynamics of attraction and partnership for a game of validation, a transactional exchange where a man looks to a woman to provide him with a sense of worth, stability, or purpose. But if we look at this through the lens of Stoic philosophy, we realize that this dependency is not just a weakness. It is the primary barrier to the very connection men are seeking. When a man enters a relationship with an internal void, hoping that a partner will fill it, he is essentially handing over the keys to his own psychological sovereignty. He becomes reactive, anxious, and perpetually off balance, because his emotional state is now tethered to the whims, moods, and approvals of another person. Women see this. They feel the weight of that unearned responsibility, and while they may offer comfort, they cannot offer the respect that is reserved for a man who is anchored in his own being. True masculine power, as the Stoics understood it, is not about dominance over others. It is about the absolute mastery of one's own internal landscape. It is the ability to stand in the center of your own life, fully responsible for your own emotional regulation, regardless of the external chaos. When a man achieves this level of self-sufficiency, he stops asking, "Do you like me? Do you approve of me? Am I enough?" and begins to operate from a place of, "I am here, I am purposeful, and I am complete. This shift is magnetic. It changes the entire architecture of the relationship. When you are no longer looking to your partner to validate your existence, you are finally free to actually see them. You are no longer interacting with them through the lens of your own neediness or your own insecurities. You are engaging with them as a sovereign individual. This is the truth that is often kept quiet. Women are not looking for a project to fix or a void to fill. They are looking for a partner who possesses the quiet, unshakable strength of a man who knows exactly who he is, even when he is standing entirely alone. This is not about becoming cold or detached. It is about becoming solid. It is about recognizing that your peace of mind is your responsibility, not your partner's burden. When you cultivate this, you stop playing the game of emotional bargaining. You stop performing for approval. You move through the world with a grounded, calm intensity that signals to everyone around you, and most importantly, to yourself, that you are not a leaf blowing in the wind of external circumstances. You are the mountain. When you reclaim your emotional autonomy, you are not pushing people away. You are inviting them into a space of genuine, adult connection. You are offering them the only thing that truly sustains a long-term bond, the presence of a man who is capable of holding his own weight. You stop being a passenger in your own life and become the architect of your own character. So, I ask you to consider this. Stop looking for the missing piece of your identity in someone else's eyes. The power you are searching for is not found in the validation of others, but in the rigorous, daily practice of mastering your own mind. When you stop needing the world to tell you who you are, you finally become the man you were meant to be. This brings us to the architecture of the masculine mind, which is where the Stoic practice truly takes root. We often confuse strength with a stoic, unfeeling exterior, a mask of indifference that suggests a man is untouchable, but that is a misunderstanding of the philosophy. Stoicism is not about the absence of emotion. It is about the mastery of one's reaction to the world. It is the practice of the dichotomy of control, a concept that, when applied, fundamentally alters how a man navigates his relationships and his own psyche. Think about the psychological toll of living in a state of constant reaction. When a man allows his internal peace to be dictated by external events, the shifting moods of a partner, the friction of a workplace, the unpredictable nature of life, he is essentially living as a passenger in his own existence. He is at the mercy of the environment. The Stoic, however, recognizes that while we cannot control the world around us, we have absolute, sovereign authority over our own judgments and our own responses. This is the bedrock of the masculine mind. It is a shift from being a victim of circumstance to becoming the architect of one how. Wunshim was Lu. When you bring this level of clarity into your life, we are not just becoming more stoic in the colloquial sense. You are becoming a more grounded, reliable human being. In a relationship, this is transformative. When a man is not constantly looking for his partner to soothe his anxieties or validate his existence, he creates a space of profound security. He is no longer a source of emotional turbulence, but a lighthouse. He is capable of witnessing his partner's emotions without being swept away by them, and he is capable of holding his own ground without needing to lash out or retreat. This is the truth that is often hidden. Women are not looking for a man who is perfect or devoid of struggle. They are looking for a man who can hold his own weight. They are looking for someone who understands that his internal state is his own responsibility. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, when you stop trying to manipulate the outcome of every interaction, and instead focus on the integrity of your own character, you stop being a participant in the drama and start being a leader of your own life. This is not about suppression. It is about integration. It is the process of taking your raw, human experience and filtering it through the lens of reason and purpose. It is the difference between being a man who is constantly triggered by the world and a man who is tempered by it. The former is exhausted, always defending his position. The latter is resilient, always expanding his capacity. So, ask yourself, are you living in a state of constant reaction, waiting for the world to give you permission to be at peace? Or are you ready to claim the authority that is already yours? The power of the masculine mind is not a gift bestowed upon you. It is a discipline you must choose to cultivate every single day. Your peace is not a reward for a job well done. It is the foundation upon which your entire life must be built. Stop waiting for the world to stabilize and start being the one who brings the calm. This leads us to the critical distinction between emotional reactivity and the Stoic concept of logos, or reasoned judgment. In our modern discourse, we often conflate being in touch with one's emotions with being entirely governed by them. We see this in relationships constantly. A trigger occurs, a perceived slight, a moment of tension, a disagreement, and the immediate, impulsive response is to lash out, to withdraw, or to demand immediate reassurance. This is the path of least resistance. It is the path of the reactive mind, which is essentially a mind that has abdicated its duty to think clearly in favor of feeling intensely. The masculine mind, when refined through the discipline of Stoicism, operates differently. It does not ignore the emotion. It acknowledges it, observes it, and then subjects it to the scrutiny of reason. This is the practice of logos. It is the ability to pause in that narrow, vital space between a stimulus and a response. In that pause, you are not suppressing your humanity, you are elevating it. You are asking yourself, is this reaction based on the reality of the situation, or is it based on my own internal projection, my own insecurity, or my own need for control? When you fail to exercise this faculty, you become predictable. You become a series of knee-jerk responses that others can anticipate and, if they are so inclined, manipulate. This is why the secret remains hidden, because most men are so transparent in their reactivity that they lose the mystery and the gravity that comes with true composure. A man who is governed by logos is a man who cannot be easily rattled. When a conflict arises, he does not descend into the fray of emotional chaos. Instead, he remains the steady center. He listens, he processes, and he responds with a clarity that cuts through the noise. This is not about being cold or clinical. It is about being profoundly present. When you are reactive, you are actually absent. You are lost in your own internal storm. When you are rational, you are fully there, capable of holding space for both yourself and your partner. You become a stabilizing force. You stop asking your partner to be your emotional regulator, and you start being the one who can navigate the complexities of life without losing your way. This is the kind of strength that creates genuine intimacy because it is built on a foundation of mutual respect rather than mutual dependency. The truth is, most people are terrified of this kind of clarity because it requires you to own your mistakes and your shadows. It is much easier to blame the world or your partner for your unhappiness than it is to look at your own mind and realize that you are the one creating the friction. But the moment you accept that your power lies in your ability to reason through your emotions, you reclaim your agency. You stop being a victim of your own impulses and start becoming the master of your own narrative. Ultimately, the goal is not to become a statue, but to become a man who is capable of deep, intentional action. It is to move through the world with a mind that is clear, a heart that is open, and a will that is disciplined. So I ask you, are you living your life as a reaction to the world, or are you living it as a conscious expression of your own values? The choice is yours, and the time to start is now. This brings us to the fourth, perhaps most misunderstood pillar of this transformation, the cultivation of purpose as a form of psychological gravity. We live in a culture that often encourages men to find their why in the validation of others, in the success of their career, the status of their relationships, or the approval of their peers. But the Stoic perspective challenges us to look inward, to identify a purpose that is intrinsic, immutable, and entirely independent of external outcomes. When a man lacks this internal compass, he is adrift, and his behavior reflects this instability. He becomes a man who is constantly searching for a port, looking to his partner to provide the destination he has failed to define for himself. This is where the dynamic shifts in ways that are often unspoken. When a man is anchored in a clear, self-defined purpose, he stops treating his relationship as a lifeboat. He stops asking his partner to be the captain of his emotional ship. Instead, he brings a sense of direction that is deeply attractive because it is stable. It is not that he is cold or detached. Rather, his capacity for love and connection is no longer burdened by the desperate need for his partner to justify his existence. He is free to love because he is no longer trying to extract something from the relationship to fill a void. He is, in the truest sense, whole. Many men fear that if they become this self-contained, they will become distant or unreachable. They worry that by focusing on their own purpose, they are somehow neglecting the emotional needs of those around them. But the psychological reality is quite the opposite. When you are secure in your own direction, you have a vastly higher capacity for empathy and presence. You are not listening to your partner through a filter of your own insecurity or neediness. You are not waiting for the conversation to turn back to your own anxieties. You are truly present, capable of holding space for another person, because your own space is already well ordered. This is the secret that many women observe. The man who is truly there is the man who is also somewhere else. He is committed to a vision, a standard, or a pursuit that transcends the immediate moment. This is not a distraction from the relationship. It is the very thing that makes the relationship sustainable. It prevents the suffocation that occurs when two people try to be everything to each other. It allows for a partnership of two sovereign individuals who choose to walk alongside one another, rather than two broken pieces trying to fuse together to form a whole. The shift, therefore, is not about becoming harder or more stoic in the sense of being unfeeling. It is about becoming more structurally sound. It is about recognizing that your purpose is the foundation upon which everything else, your relationships, your work, your legacy, must be built. If the foundation is weak, if it is built on the shifting sands of external validation, the structure will eventually collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. So, ask yourself, are you living a life that is defined by your own internal standards, or are you merely reacting to the demands and expectations of the world around you? Your purpose is not something you find, it is something you forge, day by day, through the discipline of your own mind. Stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be the man you are capable of becoming, and start building the foundation that only you can lay. Finally, we arrive at the culmination of this work, the realization that true intimacy is not the merging of two incomplete halves, but the meeting of two whole, sovereign individuals. This is the ultimate secret that men often miss. We are conditioned to believe that the happily ever after is found in the fusion of identities, that if we just love hard enough, or give enough, or sacrifice enough, we will finally be complete. But this is a psychological fallacy. When you approach a partner from a place of deficit, you aren't actually building a relationship. You are building a dependency. You are asking the other person to carry the weight of your own unresolved history, your own fears, and your own lack of direction. When you integrate the Stoic principles we have discussed, emotional self-sufficiency, the mastery of your internal state, the dominance of reason over reactivity, and the clarity of a self-defined purpose, You stop looking for a savior. You stop looking for a mirror to tell you who you are. Instead, you enter the relationship as a fully formed entity. And this is where the dynamic shifts from one of needing to one of choosing. There is a profound, almost magnetic shift that occurs when a man stops performing for his partner and starts showing up as himself. When you are no longer terrified of losing the relationship because you are no longer terrified of losing yourself, you become capable of a kind of love that is rare and deeply grounding. It is a love that is not fragile because it is not based on the precarious foundation of mutual need. It is based on the strength of two people who are secure enough in their own characters to walk alongside one another without needing to be propped up. Many men ask me, if I become this self-contained, won't I lose the passion? Won't I become too clinical, too detached? The answer is quite the opposite. When you remove the anxiety, the manipulation, and the desperate need for validation, you clear the space for genuine connection. You are no longer navigating the relationship through the lens of your own insecurities. You are finally able to see your partner for who they actually are, rather than who you need them to be to make you feel okay. That is the highest form of intimacy. It is the ability to be present, to be vulnerable, and to be deeply connected, all while remaining firmly anchored in your own truth. This is not about becoming an island. It is about becoming a mountain. A mountain does not need to move to prove its existence. It does not need to shift its shape to accommodate the weather. It simply stands, and in its standing, it provides a shelter that is far more valuable than anything a man could offer if he were constantly shifting his ground to appease others. So, I ask you to consider this. Are you living your life as a reaction to the world, or are you living it as a reflection of your own character? The secret is not something you find in another person. The secret is the man you become when you finally stop looking for yourself in someone else. The power you seek has been yours all along, waiting for you to claim it through the quiet, disciplined work of self-mastery. Stop waiting for the world to validate your strength. Start building a character that requires no validation at all.